If you've ever looked around your life and wondered to yourself, is this all there is? Like, is this as good as it's going to get? If you've ever wanted more joy, more happiness, then this devotional is for you. I don't know about you, but for me, I don't want to live a mediocre life. I don't want to live a life of good enough. I don't want to have to settle for life. I want to live a life that Jesus promises. So there's a conversation that Jesus has with his disciples and his followers, and he says, listen, I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Jesus says, I have come that you might have abundant life, a life that is full. And Jesus wasn't just talking about material possessions, because there's tons of other things that Jesus says about material possessions where he says, like, that's, if you think that's what happiness is, you're barking up the wrong tree. No, Jesus says, I created you. I know you. I have counted the number of hairs on your head. I know you. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And God also shapes our soul. You know, in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11, the Bible writer says that God has set eternity in our hearts, which is the Bible way of saying that every single one of us has a God-sized hole within our soul. And no matter what we go after to try to satisfy the deepest thirsts, the deepest cravings of our soul, it's not going to satisfy it, because it can only be satisfied by entering into the presence of God. So if you want to have abundant life, it begins by choosing to enter into God's presence daily, every single day, because by doing that, God begins to shape and transform you and mold you into this new creation. You want to know how I know that's true? You know, if you have kids, you will see and look and pay attention to the friends and the people that they hang out with. And most parents will always want their kids to stay away from the kids that we think, hey, maybe don't hang out with them because our parents raised us different. Or you don't want your kids to be around the kids that are getting into trouble all the time because you don't want your kid to get in trouble. And so we do this with our kids. And we know that expression that you become like the 5 people that you spend most of your time with. As human beings, we become like the people that we hang out with. And so if we are spending more time, intentional time with God in his presence every single day through the word, through prayer, through the Christian music, through sermons, through gathering with a small group of believers or going to church, the more time you spend with God, the more God has an opportunity to fill that God-sized hole within your soul. And when that happens, not only are you being transformed, but you begin to experience the abundant life. But the problem that I think most of us have is because life gets busy, life gets difficult. Everyone has a different challenge. Everyone has a different obstacle. My wife likes to remind me that everybody is struggling with something. And what ends up happening is that we don't like to suffer. We don't like to have that craving of our soul not be met. And a lot of times what happens is we go for the lowest hanging fruit. We go for the thing that is easiest at our disposal, hoping that it will satisfy that craving. And we know it's not. But we do it because maybe it feels good for the moment and it helps to alleviate that deeper pain, that deeper craving. What ends up happening is that craving, when we try to meet it with low-hanging fruit that isn't that good for us, it just makes our desire for truth even stronger. It makes our craving for something real, for being in the presence of God, that much stronger. You know, there's a quote by the writer C.S. Lewis, and he's writing about pleasure and how we're so easily going after the low-hanging fruit instead of going to the source of all life. And here's what he writes. He says, "We are half-hearted creatures, fooling about with drink and sex and ambition, when infinite joy is offered us. Like an ignorant child who wants to go on making mud pies in a slum because he cannot imagine what is meant by the offer of a holiday at the sea, we are too far easily pleased. C.S. Lewis gets it. He says, listen, I know that we all want joy and happiness and that abundant life, but we're like a child who he thinks the best life can ever get is making mud pies in a slum because he has never seen what a holiday, what a vacation by the sea can look like. He has never experienced anything beyond his own life. And so when it comes to entering into the presence of God every single day, even if it's a prayer for a minute, what that does is that it gives God an opportunity to begin to fill the deepest cravings of your heart. And by doing so, you begin to experience the abundant life that Jesus desires for you today. God bless you.